So, most of you here are all advanced practitioners, but for the benefit of those who are beginners, I will first give the beginning instructions, and then I'll give you the instructions for those who are advanced. So this practice is a feeling. You actually feel loving kindness, and you bring up the feeling of loving kindness in a few ways. You can use statements in your mind like, may I be happy, may I be well, may I be filled with loving kindness, may I be free of suffering. You can bring up an image that brings a smile to your face, like holding a baby in your arms, or holding a puppy or a kitten. Or think back to a wholesome memory that makes you smile, that heart. When you feel that warmth in your heart, let go of the image, let go of the statements, and stay with the feeling. That warmth that you feel, that is loving kindness. And you stay with this feeling, this loving kindness towards yourself, for at least 10 minutes. And then you bring up a spiritual friend. A spiritual friend is somebody who you know or you know of, who you admire, who you respect. When you think of them, it naturally brings a smile to your face. And the spiritual friend should be alive, not a family member, and they should be of the same sex. So now you change or shift the loving kindness towards your spiritual friend. So for the first 10 minutes, the loving kindness is towards you. And then for the remainder of the meditation, you should sit for at least 30 minutes. You send loving kindness. You can imagine the spiritual friend in front of you. You can imagine the loving kindness connecting with them. You can imagine the spiritual friend resting in your heart, and that they are basking in the glow of loving kindness in your heart. It doesn't matter how you imagine it, how you visualize it. What matters is the feeling that you experience. Inevitably, you will experience distractions. That is the nature of the game. Make friends with your hindrances. They are your teachers. They shed light on the sources of your attachment and aversion. So when a hindrance comes, do not be resistant to it. Recognize that it's there. Release your attention from that. Bring it back to the mind and body. Relax. Once you relax, smile. And then you return back to your object of meditation, which is the feeling of loving kindness, whether it's towards yourself or towards your spiritual friend. You want to sit for a minimum of 30 minutes. Through the walking practice, you're staying with the spiritual friend. And you do the same thing. You do the 6 R's whenever you get distracted while doing the walking practice. This is the beginning instructions. In the advanced instructions, for those who have done this before, you will start off with the feeling of loving kindness, and you will just send it to yourself for the first 10 to 20 minutes. and really allow the mind to sink into that feeling of loving kindness. Let it become collected. Once that happens, you then radiate that feeling of loving kindness in each direction. You choose what works for you. There's forwards, then backwards, right, left, below you, and above you. And you allow the feeling of loving kindness to spread out in each individual direction. Notice I did not say you push out the feeling. You allow the feeling to emanate from you, from your being. You are a lighthouse of loving kindness, a beacon of loving kindness that shines out. So you allow the feeling to shine out in each direction, individually, each direction for 5 minutes. After that, you let the feeling of loving kindness radiate in all directions at the same time. You are now a light bulb shining out loving kindness in all directions, and you allow that to keep going as best as you can. And when you get distracted, what do? You recognize you got distracted. You release your attention from it. You relax. We smile and return. Now, obviously, when you return, you don't have to start over again. You return to where you left off before you got distracted. So let's say you were radiating in the first direction and it was all good. Then you were radiating in the second direction and you got distracted. You 6R and you return not to the first direction. You return to the second direction. Or if you're radiating in all directions, just start from there. When you're doing your walking practice, stay in the bubble of loving kindness, or compassion, or joy, or equanimity, whatever seems best suited for your mind. And when you're doing your walking practice, just stay with the feeling, whatever that feeling is. Allow it to be everywhere. But that's only part of the game. Because it's not just about sitting, and it's not just about walking. It's about having mindfulness in every moment. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is remembering to observe how mind's attention moves from one object to the other. Whenever you recognize that the mind is distracted, you regain your mindfulness. And then you direct that mindfulness, you direct that attention back to your object of meditation. So whatever it is you're doing, walking, taking a shower, taking food, eating your food, chewing, not talking, because you're not going to be talking. But whatever it is that you're doing, do it with loving kindness. Do it with joy. Do it with compassion. Imbue it with equanimity. What is the point of doing the sitting practice? What is the point of doing the walking practice if you don't notice the distractions in your mind while you're doing other things? This is the practice. The practice isn't just sitting. The practice isn't just walking. The practice is to be mindful every moment. Otherwise, it's just spiritual entertainment. That's all. It's vain to just do sitting and walking. You have to be able to 6R every distraction that arises whenever it arises. That is how you perfect mindfulness. That is how you revitalize the mind through the practice. So remember this, that walking and sitting is part of it, but to complete this whole process, you have to be able to have loving kindness or whatever the object is, in whatever it is that you're doing, all the time. Now when you go to sleep, make a determination to get up at a certain time. Whether it's 5:55, 5:57, 6:05, whatever the time is. And see if your mind is able to wake up at that predetermined time. This will help you later on in your practice. And more importantly, make the determination to wake up smiling. Notice what happens in your mind when you wake up. Where are your thoughts? Where do they go? Where is your attention? And then keep that smile going. With that smile as an anchor, you stay with the feeling of loving kindness. You stay with the feeling of joy. You stay with the feeling of compassion or equanimity, whatever it might be, and you keep it going. Now, a couple of other tips to do. In the mornings, you're going to be taking the refuges and you're going to be taking the precepts. I would suggest that when you sit down for the practice, every time you sit down, in your mind, mentally take the refuges and take the precepts. This will help your mind remain pure. It will purify the mind. It will allow the mind to be uplifted naturally. So do that every time you sit. Because we will talk about this later throughout this retreat, but that is the way towards liberation. It starts with faith. It starts with virtue. And it then leads to gladness, a mind that is uplifted. And naturally, that seeps into other important, vital factors in the process of liberation of mind. Now, for the interviews will start day after tomorrow. You've done this before. Most of you have already done this before, so you know how it works. But I'll just review and revise what's usually done, right? Just stick to the basic questions when they're asked, right? What was your object of meditation? What was your best sit? How long did you stay with your object? What did you do when your mind drifted away, when it was distracted? And if anything new and interesting happened. Those are the basic questions, right? So initially, let's focus on that, and as we start to evolve in the practice, we'll start tweaking it accordingly. And don't try so hard. Whatever effort you think you need to do that by half, and then make adjustments. Because the more you try, the more you're not doing. The more you push, the more you suppress, the more those hindrances will arise and cause you suffering. So relax into it. Let go, right? So start with taking the refuges, start with taking the precepts, sit down, pay attention to what's going on, do a body scan. Notice if there's any tightness and tension anywhere in the mind and body, and let that go. Just relax it. And your mind automatically becomes collected, automatically becomes more mindful, more attentive. And then with that mind, you bring up the feeling of loving kindness. Right? For the beginners, 10 minutes to yourself, the rest to your spiritual friend. For the advanced, 10 minutes to yourself, and then in each direction. And then in all directions at the same time. Did I miss anything? Any questions? Very clear, huh? Okay. So I thought it best that we do a meditation together. And I will guide you guys through the meditation. And we'll do 30 minutes. And we can start now. So take a comfortable position, whatever cushions you want to use. If you want to sit in a chair, sit in a cushion, whatever it works for you. So try to keep your back as straight as possible. Just relax. Close your eyes. Put a little Buddha smile on your face. With your mouth, in your eyes, and in your heart. So you can use some statements in your mind. May I be happy. May I be well. May I be free of suffering. May I be filled with loving kindness. Bring up an image, something that makes you happy. And once you start to feel that warmth in your chest, in your heart, allow the mind to just stay there. Let the mind experience that feeling fully. This is loving kindness towards yourself. If you notice any distraction, just let it go, release, relax any tightness and tension, bring up the smile, come back to the loving kindness. Now I want you to bring up an image of Bhante. Maybe think back to a time when you had a particularly uplifting memory of him. His smile, his laughter, maybe a piece of advice that he gave you, a joke he shared with you. And rejoice in that. Let the mind be seeped in the joy of your memory of Bhante. And take Bhante and put him in your heart. Let him experience your loving kindness, your appreciation for him, your gratitude towards him. And let the mind bask in that. In your mind, you can say to Bhante, may you be happy. May you be comfortable. May you be free of suffering. Feel that wish and direct it to Bhante. If other thoughts come into the mind and distract you, recognize them. Release your awareness from them. Relax any tightness and tension. Come back to your smile. And come back to your feeling of loving kindness towards Bhante. When you're ready, you can come back to the awareness of your body and slowly open your eyes. Let's share some merit. May suffering ones be suffering free, and the creation flows grateful being. May all beings shed all grief, and may all beings find relief. May all beings share this merit that we have thus acquired for the acquisition of all kinds of happiness. May beings inhabiting space and earth, devas and nagas of mighty power, share this merit of ours. May they long protect the Buddha's dispensation. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.